welcome back to another episode of Wellness Wednesday. Last week we discussed that I would be having a special guest on the show, and we will be talking about therapy. As previous weeks I've stated that I go to therapy, I have a therapist, and it's really beneficial to me because it's somebody that I could talk to that doesn't know me, so they're not biased. They are just there to listen, give their opinion or their advice on what they think I should do in these situations, and help me think about things outside of the box. Well, this week I decided to bring in my own personal therapist. She's not my therapist, but she is one of my closest friends. Her name is Tina V. So let me introduce you to Tina V. She used to work in the community with children with mental issues and behavioral issues. She also has her own business. She has a Scented G Shop on Instagram. Check her out. And a ScentedGshop.com. So check her out. She's thriving. Make sure you go and support Black owned businesses. And lastly, she's a therapist. So why not get her to come on my show and talk about therapy? I had a few questions that I wanted to ask her. That I feel that some people who are maybe gearing towards going into therapy may have these questions as well. So I just decided to ask a few questions to help get a better understanding about therapy and how it can help. First question I will be asking her is, why is there such a huge stigma between Black folk and going to therapy? You always hear Black folks, I don't need therapy, I got Jesus. Jesus is the way. However, therapy can help you on your way along with Jesus. The next question that I want to ask her is, what are the benefits of going to therapy? Like, what are the outcomes of going to therapy over the course of a year, 2 years? Not so much putting an emphasis on how long you go, but just in general, what are the benefits? Lastly, I will be asking her, in what circumstances does she feel that you should go seek therapy, in what situations? So now that I've introduced you to Tina V, let's get this thing started. Now, Tina, why is there such a big or huge stigma between Black folks and therapy?
Hey, you asked a great question. Why do African Americans have a stigma against therapy? Well, we have to think about our ancestors. They were slaves. They had no time for weakness. They always had to be strong, resilient, and adaptable to change to anything that came their way. If you ever thought that something was wrong and you had a feeling of anxiety, maybe depression, it had to be swept under the rug because you had a responsibility to take care of your family. And think about it. Every time there was a problem, there was always somebody within our community that could fix it. And then it just disappeared. But those emotional burdens that were carried led to deeper problems within the person. And now that we do have therapy, it's still seen as taboo to go talk to a stranger about your feelings. Then you look morally and spiritually weak. So having this stigma in the African American community is big because we're supposed to be strong, we're supposed to be resilient, just as our ancestors.
Thank you so much for that. Remember, kinfolk, you don't always have to be so strong all of the time. My next question is, what are the benefits of seeking therapy?
Some of the benefits of starting therapy are that you get to address some of the problems, stressors, traumatic events that occurred, and you forced yourself to suppress some of the memories that are hindering you from achieving some of your goals. You may not even realize that you're doing this because this is a behavior that you learned from your family. And unfortunately, it being a stigma in the African American community to hinder and hide your feelings and emotions, we do this automatically. So when talking to a therapist, you can dive deep and take grasp of whatever happened. You have somebody to talk to, have a fresh perspective and an understanding of how to release what's holding you back from achieving your dreams.
So overall, it is just a purge of all of the thoughts and feelings that you've been keeping in your mind and under wraps and up to yourself, and it will help you to move forward with your life and in things that you want to accomplish and your goals and your dreams and aspirations, because holding things in and back, it tends to hold you back. So when you don't let things out, it holds you back. Lastly, Tina, in what circumstances do you feel that you should seek out therapy?
Therapy is not a one-size-fits-all. It's tailor-made to the person that's needing support. We go through so many transitions in our lives, and sometimes we just don't know how to support ourselves. We can feel overwhelmed, anxious, have panic attacks. On one side, we might be angry and irritable, and on the other, we feel depressed, fatigued. We start to socially isolate ourselves from the things that we used to love to do. The best thing to do is to reach out to a mental health specialist and schedule an intake to talk about some of the changes that occurred in your life. Having this adequate support from a professional and diving deep to figure out how you can support yourself is the best thing that you could ever do.
When you feel like you have those feelings, you should definitely seek out therapy as soon as possible. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys again for coming back to see the show. Also, if you were thinking about going to see therapy or going to a therapist, I hope that this video helps you in swaying your decision on going to see therapy. There's nothing wrong with seeing therapy. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you less than because you decide to go speak to someone about your mental health. Mental health matters, and especially in the African American community, we tend to sweep our mental health under the rug. But this is the year, this is the time, this is the place to not hold those feelings in. As I stated a few weeks ago, if not therapy, write things down. You don't want to keep that toxic energy inside of you, because your toxic energy that you keep inside of you festers inside of you, and then you become a toxic person. And we want to avoid all of that at all costs. Come on back for another episode of Wellness Wednesdays. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.